U.S. Constitution. That's why we had to allow abortion. Alaska is just following suit and doing the same thing. Let's not forget the Declaration of Independence, Constitution of the United States, and the Constitution of the State of Alaska, which clearly state no person shall be deprived of life, won't be denied any person jurisdiction. All men are created equal, endowed by their Creator. Now, Article 2, Section 3. I'm going to play a video. Our beloved President Trump. Former, yeah.
The moment he said it, the Trump campaign realized it would need a crowbar to get the candidate's foot out of his mouth this time. In an interview today that seemed disjointed and belligerent, Trump was drawn into a hypothetical question. In a future America, if abortion were illegal, should women who have one be punished? Later, Trump reversed his answer 180 degrees, just like his stand on abortion. Here's Major Garrett.
During a contentious interview with MSNBC's Chris Matthews, Donald Trump said he supported making abortion illegal. Matthews then asked him about the ramifications of such a ban.
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
10 cents, 10 years,
I don't know. That I don't know. That
well, why
I don't
not?
know. I don't know.
You take positions and everything else.
Frankly, I do take positions and everything else. It's a very complicated position.
Condemnation quickly came in from the left and the right. Texas Senator Ted Cruz said Trump has demonstrated that he hasn't seriously thought through the issues. This was Ohio Governor John Kasich, who has limited access to abortion in his home state.
I do have exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother, but of course women shouldn't be punished.
And the anti-abortion rights group March for Life said, Mr. Trump's comment is completely out of touch with the pro-life movement. No pro-lifer would ever want to punish a woman who has chosen abortion. Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton immediately took to Twitter, writing, "Just when you thought it couldn't get worse. Horrific and telling." The abortion issue looms large in the election with a vacancy on the Supreme Court. Trump has said he would appoint conservative justices who would overturn legal protections for abortion. Trump has struggled with women voters. In the latest CBS News New York Times poll, 63% viewed him unfavorably. And in a new poll out of Republican voters in Wisconsin, which holds its primary next Tuesday, Trump trails Ted Cruz among GOP women by 15%. Even some Trump supporters today said he had gone too far.
I can't believe that you would punish the woman for that. I wish I could put some tape on his mouth sometimes.
Trump soon went into full retreat, writing in a statement that if abortion were illegal, the doctor or any other person performing this illegal act upon a woman would be held legally responsible, not the woman. The woman is a victim in this case, as is the life in her womb.
This is not the first full-blown written reversal of something Trump has said during the course of the campaign. Scott, Trump has undertaken similar cleanup efforts dealing with foreign worker visas and using torture in violation of U.S. law.
Major Garrett, thanks.
So in Article 2, Section 3 states, the president shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. He bailed out. He started good, and it was the pro-life organizations, pro-life legislators that put pressure on him because the primary principal actor of murder would be criminalized, and criminalization can't be for the mother, according to pro-life legislators. 2024 campaign, President Trump, and I quote, "I believe in 3 exceptions: rape, incest, and life of the mother. Without exceptions, it would be very difficult to win elections." I'm quoting him directly. There's another clip, but I had to cut things. If If you want to see that clip, it's about, I don't know, about 4 minutes long. I will be happy to give it to you. But that is a quote. How do incremental pro-life bills entrench judicial supremacy? And this is my last talk. In 1857 speech, Frederick Douglass said, "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and it never will. For as long as pro-life writers and support incremental bills, the Alaskan court will know they are fully in the driver's seat." I'm going to go over a few pro-life bill attempts. 2020, there was 19 pro-life Alaska representatives, and I'm not going to list them all there. If you can read them up there, that's fine. 19 pro-life Alaska representatives. They presented this bill. The title, Restrict Abortion If Heartbeat Detected. That's their title. An act prohibiting abortion after detection or fetal cardiac activity or fetal heart constriction. Representative, I wanted to make sure I had the right representative. I thought I typoed here. Representative Vance's bill is explicit in legalizing the murder of preborns whose heart has not completely developed. The bill discriminates against those based on ageism. I had personally urged each one of them, sent them emails to destroy this iniquitous bill and co-sponsor David Eastman's Life at Conception Act, which gives equal justice to every Alaskan regardless of their age of development. Not one of the pro-life legislators co-signed that bill that would have criminalized the act of abortion in Alaska. Of these 19 pro-life representatives, not one of them, and they were pleaded with, they did not want anything to do with Representative Eastman's bill. Okay, this one is 2018. Senator Giesel and Representative Tilton. The title is long. An act relating to the duties of physicians and healthcare practitioners when performing or inducing abortion, providing that a child removed from a pregnant woman's womb alive after an abortion may be surrendered and found to be a child in need of aid. It does not recognize that the child in the womb to be in need of an aid at the time the abortionist is in the very act of murdering them. Unless the child survives their murder attempt on their life, then, as the title states, the child removed from the womb alive after the abortion may be a child in need of aid. Imagine during slavery, I want you just to have an open mind, and we're just open mind on this. Imagine during slavery, this bill was passed with the same language in its title, but we're going to replace child with slave and replace abortion with lynching. All of the other words will remain the same. So again, all we're going to do in this title is replace their word, child, with slave, and take abortion and replace it with lynching. All the words remain the same. And here it is. An act reflecting to the duties of physicians and healthcare practitioners when performing of inducing lynchings, provided that a slave removed from a lynching alive after a lynching may be surrendered and found to be a slave in the need of aid. There is no difference. There literally is no difference. It is an iniquitous bill. In Alaska courts, the Alaska courts have not conceded anything since making abortion legal in 1970, prior to the 1973 Roe opinion, and are unlikely to do so going forward unless we actively resist them through defiance. The Alaska Supreme Court's evil interpretation of the privacy provision found in the state's constitution is murderous decision are embedded by the pro-life lobby, which takes a posture of unconstitutional submission. Many will say, well, we can't do anything. The Alaska courts have ruled from on high. We must just bow down. Pro-life legislators like Shelley Hughes, current Senator Shelley Hughes, who wrote an impressive Senate joint resolution, and she's done that, I think it's been 3 years now. If we look at, this is the bill, the top part up there where it says Section 26, this is how long the bill is. It's very simple and to the point, and I'll read it. To protect human life. Chuck, I agree. Nothing in the Constitution may be construed to secure or protect a right to an abortion. Yep, I agree. Or require the state to fund an abortion. Well, you can't fund murder if it's murder. If we call it murder and establish equal protection and equal justice as with the born Alaskans. Section 2, the amendment proposed by this resolution shall be placed before the voters of the state at the next general election. The point I want to get to is her sponsor statement, because you look at this bill and you're like, okay, yes, I agree. It sounds good, but what does she mean? And we can find that in her sponsor statement, the truth, just like in ingredients in the back of a food product that you're going to look at. The front label looks good, sounds good, go to the ingredients, and you're like, oh no, this is all garbage. So that's what I'm pointing out here. Senate Joint Resolution 4 would allow Alaska to be on par with other states. It would permit the decision that Alaskans make to stand, for example, regarding parents of minors, unborn babies, and public funding for abortion. But in Section 26 of the Senate Joint Resolution, to protect, she's saying to protect life, the Constitution doesn't give a right to abortion. But if you look closer, her sponsor statement, she explains what incremental pro-life her Senate Joint Resolution would allow in Alaska. At least one parent must be informed or consent before a minor. She's referring to all these other states, these 21 states, they have these kind of laws, these regulatory type of laws. We don't even have that. We should at least do that. What Shelley Hughes is trying to say here is she's doing the same thing. She's a senator. She writes law. She will not support David Eastman's bill. She is now washing her hands, and she's giving it back to the Alaskans to determine how they want to murder. That's just simply what it is. Our problem is not the Alaska Constitution. It's not the U.S. Constitution. It's not the Supreme Court. It's not the Alaska courts. The problem is legislators like Shelley Hughes, who are charged by God to establish equal justice for the preborn and to punish evildoers, and they refuse to obey God. asked Eastman yesterday, and still there is no one that is sponsoring his current active bill to abolish abortion, criminalize equal justice, equal protection. Proverbs 24, 9 through 12. A foolish scheme is sin, and a mocker is detestable to people. If you do nothing in a difficult time, your strength is limited. Rescue those being taken off to death, and save those stumbling towards a slaughter. If you say, but we did not know about this, won't he who weighs the heart consider it? Won't he who protects your life know? Won't he repay a person according to his work? Senator Shelley Hughes will ensure that the murder of the preborn will continue. Our only unconstitutional submission ought to be to God, and when forced to choose between obedience to God or obedience to human institution, we must obey God. Acts 5:29. We must not continue embedding the court tyranny with submissive legislation. We must check the power of the tyrant courts by ignoring their obvious evil and obvious unconstitutional abortion jurisprudence. Because judicial supremacy is so ingrained in the culture, people often react to this suggestion as if it were a radical idea, but it is not. The other branches and states are supposed to check the power of the branch that becomes a tyrant. The only checks on the power of the courts at our disposal are defiance and impeachment. It is high time we start implementing both. The Alaska Supreme Court chooses to redefine our Constitution. When the courts do this, and especially when they do it for the purpose of inventing a right to murder a class of human beings, we must uphold the Constitution by ignoring the court. To believe that Alaskan politicians have their hands tied because the Alaskan Constitution forces them to allow abortion in our state is pure fiction. If they can convince you of that, then they can resume proposing weak abortion regulations. Ironically, Shelley Hughes is spreading this fiction instead of standing firm on what the Alaska Constitution say, and the right to life and equal protection of the laws for all are guaranteed and unalienable. What the pro-life politicians of Alaska should do, and what abolitionist bills mandate, is that they actually take their oath to the U.S. and Alaska Constitution seriously and uphold the right to life and equal justice for all. Representative David Eastman does that. We will further go into his bill next week, the Life at Conception Act. What I want to point out here is the sponsor statement from 2017. His sponsor statement, the second portion, the Responsible Judges Act, which preceded his bill, the Life at Conception Act. The language is now part of his current bill of 2023-24. So we'll take a closer look here of what it says. The Responsible Judges Act provides that an Alaskan judge or justice who exercised legislative power is guilty of malfeasance and may be impeached by the legislator and removed from office in accordance with the Constitution of the state of Alaska. It also makes clear that that impeachment of a judge or justice by the legislator may not be overturned by the courts. Legislators make law. The courts do not. When the courts interpret something that's not there, we can impeach them. It's in our laws. It's sad that a legislator who creates law has to spell that out to the courts who are supposed to interpret the law, not create their own law. Representative Eastman's Life at Conception Act was given its first hearing today at the Health and Social Service Committee via telephonic. Hopefully there will be future hearings up here. You can go to abolishabortionak.com and there's links there that'll take you directly to each committee member's email, and you have to be 50 words or less. But if you haven't already, I still suggest that you do. We can irritate them, and that's a good thing. Reminds me of the wicked judge and the woman who wanted justice, and so she kept going to him. He finally gave her justice, and it wasn't because he was a good king or judge, but she was persistent. She irritated him. Irritation, agitation, persistence is a good thing. The day pro-life politicians and lobbyists stop opposing the total and immediate abolition of abortion is the day abortion will be abolished. Woe to those who write oppressive laws to keep the preborn from getting a fair trial and to deprive them from equal justice and plunder these fatherless preborns. The Constitution is in agreement with the Bible. It requires equal protection. God-ordained law, thou shalt not murder. The government has been given the sword to wield against evil. Incremental pro-life laws violate the U.S. Constitution, Alaska's Constitution. Our government has a duty to interpose themselves between those who will murder human beings and the preborn human being. The duty is ours. Our duty as Christian is interposition on behalf of our neighbor while not taking part in the unfruitful work of darkness, but instead exposing them. And I'll finish with this. Seek good, hate evil, and establish justice in the gate. That sums up Amos 5:14 through 15. And that ends our talk for today.
And just, we'd be happy to answer anything that you have. So, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you next week.